Hello, and welcome to the Be the CEO of Your Life live show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Yvonne of Amaze Yourself Coaching, and I help driven business owners and professionals to basically bring their business to the next level of success, the next level of income. And I do this by helping you to focus on those things that are critical, most important to you. And by getting your focus back, you get more time. And when you have more time, things will start to change for the better. And talking about change for the better, today I am very excited because Gary is here with me. Hi, Gary.
How are you, Yvonne? Thank you so much for having me. And we all need better focus, and I can speak to that personally.
It's absolute my pleasure that you are here on the show. Can you briefly introduce yourself to the people who don't know you?
Sure. I'm in New York City, in Manhattan, and I'm an attorney. I focus on employment matters and small businesses. But for employers, I work with the small businesses, and employees, I help them maximize their income and satisfaction, oftentimes working with coaches like you, and on the way in to make sure that they land appropriately and can perform to their maximum, and so everyone benefits.
I love that. So you're a lawyer. Now, I don't live in the States, but even I know all the bad jokes about lawyers. So what made you become a lawyer, even though, the odds are against you, so to say?
Right. To be a principled lawyer is I think that's the key. And I followed, my grandfather had taken on, there was a bad guy back in the 50s called McCarthy, and there was McCarthyism. And my grandfather took out ads in newspapers around the country and got them into a PO box, sent them to the Senate committee that was investigating him, and helped bring down McCarthy. And he was also instrumental in working with the anti-Vietnam movement and other progressive causes that led me to what I do. And I saw attorneys as agents of positive change in the community and in the world. You look at many of the most productive and influential individuals, and they have a legal background. They may not be practicing law, but they know how to advocate for causes. And that's really, I didn't talk about that on my prelude, but that's really what I do. I take on issues and hopefully for the better of both employees and employers and the communities that they live in. I've done everything from environmental to police misconduct, and I value those issues as much as anything.
And I love it because you are really, and that's also the title of today's episode, you're fighting for what's right. So you're very principled. How come that this is so important to you?
Well, my mission, my personal mission to bring out the best in everyone and help them reach their potential is the same as my professional. So my professional and personal missions dovetail, and whether I'm working, even if let's say there's a company on the other side, I will try to draw them out so that they invoke positive changes in the organization as part of resolving whatever issue we may have. I truly believe that if companies align their individuals with the mission of the corporation, and everybody's on the same page, and you eliminate the distractions and oppressions like discrimination, and you provide them the tools, employees, you provide the positive tools, then everybody can benefit. Just like with your children, what's the saying? You treat them all the same by treating them differently, because some needs are different. I'm working a lot with the neurodiverse community, and hopefully companies will now start to look more closely at how they can provide needed support so that employees can reach their potential.
Yeah. And I actually really love what you say. I often hear it being said differently. People often talk about, and I can't say the word correctly, so correct me please, reciprocity. Is that the
Right.
word?
Right.
You should treat all your employees or the people you work with reciprocity. And it's not even who you work with, but just in general in society. But I used to really believe that. And I used to work for a company where it was one of their main values. And I thought, oh, that's so nice, treat how you want to be treated.
Right.
But it's actually, it's not true. You should treat people how they want to be treated. Like you're saying, we're all equal, but we have different needs. And that's based on who you are, what you believe in, what you stand for. And I really like how you're saying that, because that's the bottom line. And I think it's very important that people and employers especially become more aware of it, that we're all unique.
We are all unique. One of the easy things we can do is call people what they want to be called. I've heard on television programs where, well, these people, well, first of all, you're marginalizing by calling them these people. These people want to now be called this. Well, so what? So call them what they want to be called, treat them with respect. And what does it matter to you if and they feign that it's too complicated? No, just listen to what someone wants to say. If you make a mistake, apologize, move forward, and treat people with dignity, respect, and it's 100% going to work out better for you if you treat people better. That's my belief, and trying to get the best out of everyone to reach their potential, whether it be corporations and individuals, is my mission. And I don't think it's that complicated. It's especially if you have an inspiring mission. I use Patagonia as an example, where their mission is to support the environment. And they gave their tax benefit to preserving Bears Ears, a national monument. So that type of behavior resonates with a community. And I think they're probably doing much better financially because of their committed mission. And I know that most people appreciate authenticity, and they are their authentic selves. They show up that way, and I've actually stopped by their stores. I do a lot of work in homeless outreach, and I stopped by the first time. This has got to be 5-6 years ago, and I said, "Listen, I'd like to talk to you. I'm with the Urban Outreach Center, and it's part of the Jan Hus Church. And, we'd like to make a partnership where maybe some of your used garments could come in." They had a box in my car that day. I said, "Well, do you need to speak to somebody ahead of time? I'm just one of the volunteers." And they're like, "No." And I gave them my card, and there's been a partnership ever since. And it's fantastic. These are garments that I don't know where they would be, but they're now being used regularly. So that kind of goodwill spills over and spills out. Having an attitude and practice of abundance helps everyone. Patagonia is a little bit more than I normally would spend on clothing. I buy there all the time now, if I buy things. But so it's worked for me. I had never owned a garment before I went in there 6 years ago, and now I own several. Not that many, but a few.
Yeah. But I think it's very true. A couple of things that you raised. Authenticity is very important, and I know that many business owners are watching. You're a business owner. I am one. When you're authentic, when you're true self, people will know. Things you do, you can't fake, because people will immediately, see right through it. So authenticity, but I also really like that you just asked, because that's something we so often forget. You saw an opportunity for two great companies working together, and you asked, and it worked out.
Right. I mean, you have to be proactive. I initiated it ended up going into litigation, but it was to preserve the beaches out in the Hamptons, which is a resort area outside of New York, and the causation were these jetties that were built upstream that build up on one side and scour the other side and destroy properties. And I raised the issue first in the early 90s, and then again when some houses were falling in. and it went through its process and we gained momentum, but you have to educate the public. Like if there, for example, if there's clothing that is being returned and not being used and can't be resold, it's fantastic that this organization, Patagonia, is willing to give this clothing to others so that they can benefit. But part of it is educating the public, but they needed no education. They got it right away and had it, you know, I don't even know if they had the name of the organization. I got their contact, emailed, and continued the relationship, but they, you know, they're a company that understands abundance.
Yeah, I love that. And you've done, I know, you know, I know some of your stories. You've done amazing work where people got let go on reasons that weren't fair. And you're really, for me, a beacon of someone who fights for what's right. And we were driving up here and I was sitting in my car with my daughter and she's 10. But she already talks about, and this might be funny, but how Disney movies are always portraying the hero as a guy. And so we're very conscious of okay, this is a girl one, you know, and where there's more power to the girls, and it's not just, oh, they need to ask the guy or the guy can do anything. So I always try to bring any girl power story to her, and I told her about what you've done with the Boy Scouts. Would you mind sharing this? Because she
Sure.
was immediately, yes, girl power. So I just think it's the best story.
So a number of years ago, when my son was 6 and going into the Cub Scouts, my daughter wanted to join, and she was part as I think they call it a sibling program, but she was not ever able to be a member. She got all of her awards unofficially. She earned the highest award in the Cub Scouts, which goes up to 10 years old, so about your daughter's age. And we gave it to her, and some people got upset. When I took over as Cub Master, which is running the group, I gave her a uniform, and there were 2 other young women, young girls that were also in the group, and I gave them uniforms, and we moved forward as if they were part of the group. And then at 10 years old, when you move over to the Boy Scouts, it became a little more complicated, and we got a little more pushback. So we asked them respectfully that, you know, you claim, and we agree, that you have the best youth leadership training for our kids. You are a national program with international roots. Mm-hmm. We want every child, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender, what they believe religiously or don't believe, to be included in this wonderful program. And that's where there was a miscommunication, you know, the communication broke down. So we ended up it was a 7-year program. We started with writing a simple op-ed in our local paper, which is a physical paper. Then we wrote resolutions through the New York City Presbytery, through the National Organization for Women, passed them locally, passed them nationally at the National Organization for Women, started a change.org petition, which gained some traction. My daughter wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post, and then another one for USA Today and Outside Magazine. So we had a core group of supporters, and also gained the support of our elected officials. Most notably was our Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney. And you know, this was a little like breaking into a church, in that they, you know, she was harassed. I was not thought of in such high regard, for sure. It's got great. I taught the leadership program for both the youth and the adults. It's a fantastic program, but for the leadership coming out of Texas, refused to admit first the LGBT community, then girls, and I don't believe they've let in people who don't believe in you know, certain religious beliefs. There's no place for that. We need everybody included, and particularly people that may believe differently than you do. And I think it's fear-based. And I think these men, because they were mostly men, were afraid that, you know, of change. And I'm afraid of change sometimes, but that's all the more reason to lean in and provide opportunities, particularly with this great organization. So in 2017, they changed their program, and they were going to let in girls, but they were going to have a lag of years that was going to keep my daughter from earning the highest rank, which is the Eagle rank. And she had already earned the highest rank in Canada, in Scouts Canada. We go up every summer. We didn't go this year because of the pandemic. But they're making changes, but they're at a glacial pace. And this is an organization that's had its own problems and moral lapses that are really inexcusable. And I've called for them now to create half the slots on all of the boards, both the national and at all the local boards, for women. We need women leadership. We need, and the pushback has always been, well, they don't know the program. Well, they may not know the program as well as the men, but look what the men have done to this program. It's in bankruptcy now. I think they should be welcoming more women. And I know that my daughter was nominated for their highest award. I think it's the Silver Buffalo. And, we never heard back from them. But the nomination speaks volumes in that this is an organization that should be celebrating her, and they've really pushed her to the side in many ways. I mean, she's, she finally earned the Eagle rank, but they did everything they could to try to slow walk the process so that she would miss the dates, and they finally opened it up so she could get it later. But she had already completed the work, and then just had to sit on it for a year until they let, they didn't want to give her the award. That's never happened to a young man. And it's quite frankly embarrassing and a disgrace to an organization that I care deeply about. And that goes all the way to the top. And they should consider who is running the organization and why they don't follow their own leadership training skills. And this is actually something I want to send. This is the first girl Boy Scout, now it's called Scouts BSA. They changed the name. Girl Patrol, and I'll send this for your daughter. She'll be, we welcome her when she comes over. Hopefully she'll visit, and she can visit the patrol. Our family's gotten so much out of it. My son Brian is an Eagle Scout. My daughter Sydney is an Eagle Scout and was featured in Forbes magazine for her leadership skills. So there's a lot of opportunity. She got to go to the State of the Union with her congresswoman, got to have dinner with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So this is an amazing organization, and it's got to be made accessible to everyone, and reaching out. I highly recommend it. If there's a local chapter, consider it, and make sure that they welcome young women.
I love it. But the fight isn't over there yet.
It's not, we want to make sure that the troops are not fully integrated, which I don't quite understand. They move at a glacial pace, and they run with a very, they decide at the top, and then they tell you what the outcome is. Which and we had a meeting at the National Organization for Women headquarters in New York with the leaders of the National Scouts. And they didn't have any interest at the beginning of seeing the work my daughter had done in South Africa, at the Cub Scout level, in Scouts Canada, and then in the U.S. and at her Eagle Scout project. The head of the Scouts, who was a former head of a huge consulting firm that I think and he's the one that said, "Oh, well, you're not going to like this. We're not letting her in, and she can get in sometime, but not now." And it was. It was a disgrace. I didn't have to say anything. My daughter came out and said, geez, there seems to be an integrity problem. Why would they want to actively discriminate?
Wow.
And this is to a guy that has run a major corporation, and the other was the head of the Boy Scouts. So you have a figurehead who is the head of the board, and they were both, they came to actively discriminate against her. I don't, at the National Organization for Women, it didn't go over big, and these men, I hope they send her a congratulatory note, but we won't wait by the mailbox.
I hear you. So diversity and inclusion is really big on your agenda. Can you give us some other examples of some of the things you've done?
I think I'm really interested right now in the inclusion aspect. Do people, employees that are celebrated and brought into the company, feel part of the company, feel that they're celebrated for who they are, the gifts they have, whether they need support or whether they look different, act different, love differently than some of the other leaders. And you can tell how a company's doing by who stays on along. Like, they may have a great recruiting network and bring in, and everyone at the junior level looks great, but for some reason that doesn't transfer. And whether it be childcare, as I said in the beginning, treat people differently, or to treat people the same, you need to treat them differently, right? So you need to treat them differently in order to provide them the support that they need to succeed. Childcare, whether it be an ergonomic keyboard, a desk that moves up and down, whether it be breaks at certain times. And these are the things that are now being celebrated. I think one of the breakthroughs recently was when Elon Musk was on Saturday Night Live, and he talked about being neurodiverse himself. And that, like, wow, if this successful international, booming marketer and billionaire can admit that, can't we all admit some issues we have or have to tackle? So if we don't have to hide our neurodiversity and we can be open about it and inclusive, then we can get the help we need. I've worked with Denise Brody, who's a pretty famous author and writer at Forbes, and she works in the space of neurodiversity, and she's one of the leading experts and has done a lot of secondhand research because she's a journalist, and has really pushed this issue, writing a book on it, and now she has a company called Rebel Talent. So I'm on her advisory board, and I find this issue right now is the most ripe, because we want, in order to get the most out of our employees and to have them reach their potential, first of all, we need to know what the issues are, and we need to speak openly about it.
I just want to ask, talk to me about what is neurodiversity so everybody can follow you.
Okay, so there's neurodiversity, we're all different, and then there's neurodivergent. So right. There may be a norm, and let's say you can't, for whatever reason, you need support in a way that you need to take breaks every now and again, or you can't have loud sounds in the office, and your office is an open platform. So, try to get earphones. Some of these fixes are very, once they're accepted as the norm, are very easy. Like getting earphones that cancel out outside noise so people can focus. That's really not difficult. Yeah. And so it all is on the continuum of trying to get, just as you would if someone had a physical known disability, these invisible disabilities need to be addressed and supported. And this is on the continuum of addressing all discrimination and really flipping it so that we're supporting each other and that we make each other feel valued. And there are times when I've made mistakes, and I also know how to apologize, because when you're out there and I know this is one of the issues that leaders face, they don't want to be embarrassed. Mm-hmm. Well, learn how to apologize. If you make a mistake, just apologize. If you've called somebody the wrong person, the wrong name because they have moved on to other labels that they'd rather be called, say, oh, could you explain that to me? I'm sorry, I'll use that in the future. And if I make a mistake again, please correct me. Because, I live in this space, so I'm used to making mistakes. I'm used to apologizing, and it's all about bringing the best out in everyone. But we need to eliminate discrimination. And just as we're addressing that right now in the Boy Scouts, who are having tremendous other problems, they need to open the doors and welcome everyone. And that's the same way every company should be, whether it's small or large. And one of the other problems is with the smaller companies their boards need to look like the employees and need to look like the community that they serve. And that's oftentimes more difficult because you hire your family, your friends, or you engage them. And it's a little more challenging, but it has to be done consciously to make our corporate world look more like the world.
Yeah, so that's, what you hear a lot, right? When people talk about, oh, I'm so inclusive, I so support diversity, or companies say that, and then what you always hear, and I think that's fair, well, look at your boards.
Look at your boards and your top 20 executives.
It's not, your lip service, it's not true, because when I look at what's there, it's definitely showing me something else. And I think that's a very fair comment.
Right.
And the companies I worked in, I always knew, okay, I'm not a mini-me. That's the word we used. I'm not a male, middle-aged, white, puffy guy. So I'm a bit, I'm tough, and maybe I'm outspoken. So that doesn't work. And I think it's really, for me, I think this is unsustainable, and I think the public will speak. I hope, at least. It's like you're saying with the company Patagonia. People will make that difference. They see it and they will act on it. Now,
it's the anniversary. We just passed the anniversary of the Fair Pay Act, and one of the things that we can all do is make sure that we purchase from responsible companies. And that's the famous case involving Goodyear. I haven't read an apology from that company about the way they treated a valued employee, or should have been a valued employee, and laws have been made again about that. So we need to look at the companies that we buy from and buy responsibly, and make sure that we thank them for being a responsible company, so that they know why we're making those purchases. And I'll say it right now, I buy Patagonia because I love their mission. And I worship at a faith-based community because I love their mission. First of all, they're interdenominational. They welcome everyone, and we have a homeless outreach program as our mission. So those are things that I want to lift up our most needy New Yorkers, and I also want to make sure, I deal with executives all the time, and I want to make sure that when they land on their feet in a company, that they're going to succeed. That's why we need to have coaches like you supporting them on their way in.
Yeah, I love it. So, Gary, before we go to the last question, I just want people to know that, they can reach out to you, right? Whether they want personal help, or whether they feel the company needs help, whether they have had issues of some kind that they want your help with, they best can reach you via email. I have it here, Gary@irelandlaw.net. Or if you can't remember this, just post it underneath this video and we'll get back to you. But please feel free to reach out if there's anything you need Gary's help with, because like you can hear, he's awesome. And before we close it, because we are approaching the 30-minute mark, is there anything we didn't address, we didn't speak about, or lost famous words you want to end the show with?
There's opportunities out there, and we're in a pandemic, and some people are looking inward. We're having a difficult time. I would suggest look outward. Go to your areas that need help, because no matter where I am, I'm going to feel better. And I lost my wife a couple of years ago, and we've had a lot of family troubles. There's turmoil within all sorts of families, and many people are in exactly the same space. And I don't mean to diminish anyone's particular experience, but reach out to other groups and ask what you can do to help. Go to those soup kitchens, go to the, what can we do to build more housing, particularly in New York and other cities where there are people living on the streets. Talk to your elected officials, see what issues you want to bring to the forefront, because individuals are the ones that make things happen. and reach out to me if I can be of any help, whether you're moving into a company, starting a company, or you've been discriminated against. I hope that's not the case, but this is what my passion, it's what I do personally, it's what I do professionally. And, I'm so grateful to have been on your show, Yvonne. You rock, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. I think thank you. I really enjoyed talking to you, and you made my day and my daughter's day, so that's really special.
And this will be in the mail, so I need your address.
She's gonna love it for sure. So thank you. When you're watching this, thank you so much. If you have any queries, please post them, because we'll definitely come back, or reach out via email, and for sure don't hesitate, because we're there to help you. And with that, I'm closing down. I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow, same time, same channel. Bye for now. Bye bye.
Thanks, Yvonne.